Little disclaimer before I start with the video. The audio quality is going to be bad. The video quality is going to be bad. I'm recording on a laptop camera and a cheap microphone. When I have the money, I will buy better quality equipment. Other than that, enjoy. Languages shape reality, not just in the world we inhabit, but how we understand them. Words are used not only to describe the worlds around us, but to define ourselves, our emotions, beliefs, and even our pasts. Within games, this principle still holds true. This is the game Mouthwashing, where words and narratives reshape how we perceive the game, turning flaws into features or reframing an experience entirely. Mouthwashing is an indie psychological horror developed by Wrong Organ that released in September of 2024. At first glance, it seems like just another surreal game with abstract environments and confusing scenes, but beneath its bizarre visuals and confusing mechanics lies a deeper, unsettling commentary on language, control, and self-deception. This video will explore how Mouthwashing uses its design, narrative, and symbolism to convey these complex themes. The title Mouthwashing immediately suggests a play on the term brainwashing, being used as a form of manipulation, but through speech, words, and communication. The game makes use of this concept in both its narrative that doesn't make sense until the end, and within its confusing mechanics that change the way you view games as a whole. As players try to navigate its strange environments, they can repeatedly confronted with disjointed phrases, cryptic instructions, and characters who speak in half-truths, creating an atmosphere where meaning is constantly changing. Players navigate a surreal world where words quite literally shape the environment. The game's central mechanic involves washing or altering words by swapping, erasing, or modifying them to solve puzzles and progress through the story. This disorienting dialogue isn't just a stylistic choice, though. It helps convey the idea that language can be used as a tool of control, distorting reality and making the player question what's real and what's manipulation. Much like propaganda or misinformation, the game's communication system erodes your sense of certainty, becoming less and less clear about what is true as the game progresses. The puzzles in Mouthwashing aren't just arbitrary obstacles. They're integral to the game's commentary and control. Every puzzle requires the player to rely on faulty, unclear information given by NPCs or the environment. It's intended to make sure you're never entirely sure if you're solving things correctly, or if you're just being led along, manipulated by the game's twisted logic. An underlying theme in Mouthwashing is the idea of control through confusion of language. In the game, those who can manipulate language effectively have power over their environments. This echoes real-world scenarios where political leaders, media outlets, or corporations use language to control the public perception. This is a broader theme present throughout the entirety of the game. By intentionally withholding clarity, the game mirrors how language and information can be weaponized and has in the past, making individuals dependent on unreliable sources. You become trapped in a cycle of mistrust, both of the game and yourself as the player. Distrust in your own decisions, what you see, the interpretations, and the meanings. Its aim is to make you doubt everything you once thought you knew. One of the most profound themes in Mouthwashing is self-deception. The game often prompts you to question your own actions, intentions, and interpretations of the already abstract scenes surrounding you. As you progress, the protagonist's journey becomes increasingly introspective, confronting memories and regrets. The distorted dialogue becomes a metaphor for internal dialogue, the lies we tell ourselves, and the ways we choose to wash over uncomfortable truths. This scene, for example, is a clear representation of inner conflict. You can't trust anything on the ship, not even yourself. Much like how we often struggle to confront our own flaws or accept uncomfortable realities about ourselves, choosing to instead ignore them in hope of gaining some semblance of ourselves back. The distorted speech is symbolic of cognitive dissonance where our inner realities become twisted and hard to discern. Isolation is another recurring theme in Mouthwashing. Throughout the game, the player often finds themselves in vast, empty, dilapidated spaces, disconnected from any real sense of community or understanding. The scattered, repetitive phrases from the NPCs create an echo chamber-like effect, where the same distorted ideas you put out bounce back at you, amplifying your already heightened sense of confusion and alienation. This mimics the modern phenomenon of digital echo chambers, where people are exposed to only information that reinforces their already existing beliefs, creating an isolating and disorienting experience. In the world of mouthwashing, it's nearly impossible to break free from the cycle of miscommunication and manipulation, just as it can feel impossible in real life to escape these echo chambers of misinformation being shoved in your face every time you open social media. While mouthwashing focuses on how language can be manipulated, it also highlights the limitations and potential of words. In some levels, there are puzzles where no amount of word washing will lead to a solution. These moments in the game symbolize the inherent limits of language. There are experiences and ideas that words simply can't capture. One underappreciated element in mouthwashing is the role of silence and absence. While the game centers on manipulation of language, the absence of language, moments of silence or emptiness become just as significant. These quiet spaces, whether literal or metaphorical, represent the limits of communication. They are the gaps where meaning breaks down and where language fails to fully capture reality. As mouthwashing reaches its conclusion, the game leaves us with more questions than it does answers. The ending challenges the player to consider their role in perpetuating cycles of deception, whether by remaining passive or by actively participating in the distortion of truth, forcing them to choose which will lead to less harm, when knowing both will hurt someone in one way or another. The final moments are a visceral reminder that language and communication are powerful tools, but when twisted or misused, they can obscure reality, leaving us lost in a maze of uncertainty. Mouthwashing doesn't provide a clear solution regardless of which angle you choose to look at it from, but it asks players to reflect on the ways we interpret, distort, and manipulate meaning, both within the game and in our everyday lives, forcing players to confront their own biases. Words that seem neutral, once altered, reveal hidden connotations or latent power dynamics. This shows us how deeply language influences our thoughts, often without us realizing. Mouthwashing brings to life the idea that language can construct or deconstruct meaning. In the game, manipulating a word doesn't just alter a symbol on the screen, it literally transforms your surroundings. This is a metaphor for how language functions in the real world. Consider this. Every word we speak or hear carries layers of meaning, context, and interpretation. Language influences our worldview, whether it's through political rhetoric, marketing slogans, or even casual conversation. In mouthwashing, this concept becomes tangible. As players alter words, they can see the direct impact of their linguistic choices on their physical surroundings. One of the game's most important messages is that language isn't neutral. By changing how something is described, we can change how it's perceived. For instance, think about how the term freedom fighters is loaded with positive connotations while terrorist carries an inherently negative one, even if both words might be used to describe the same individual from different perspectives. Mouthwashing invites players to reflect on how easily words can be manipulated, how this manipulation can distort reality. Mouthwashing is more than just a game. It's a commentary on the fragility of truth in an age of confusion, where the lines between reality and manipulation are often blurred. Its cryptic mechanics and dialogue reflect the complexities of communication and the dangers of relying on distorted information that you're not sure you can trust. In the end, the game's core message is a call to awareness, reminding us to question the narratives we're being fed, and perhaps more importantly, the ones we tell ourselves.